There it is. Well, welcome to everybody. We are joined here in our Zoom room here on Cultivating Voices live poetry with friends from near and far and everywhere around the globe for our first Sunday reading of October, which means it's our Poets Focus. Today's Poets Focus open mic is on the theme of change. I thought about getting a whole handful of coins and throwing them up in the air and making all kinds of hullabaloo, but I decided not to do it after all. Me being your wacky host for today, Sandy Yanone, and glad to be with you here for this live open mic on the theme of change. Many permutations, and I love these readings that allow us to take a word and delve into it. Well, we've got a fabulous list of poets already signed up for the open mic. A reminder that those of you who have requested to read, we will have 12 features, 5 minutes or less, and then that might allow us to get to our open mic. We still have a couple slots if you care to put your name in the chat. I'll do my best to get us through everyone who would like to read. And of course, I'm grateful to have all of you folks in our audience here in Zoom and on Facebook. Just a reminder, Cultivating Voices live poetry. We've been with you since March of 2020. We began as the pandemic was shutting down all the in-person venues, and we've enjoyed our time together so much that we said, we're going to keep it going. We're just going to keep it going. And we now, on our Facebook page, where we encourage folks to post things about your readings, your books, and all things poetry, have 3,500 members who engage in a variety of different ways over the time. We come and go as we please, and it's always great to have folks that are with us regularly and who surprise us when they arrive after a hiatus. You know, we are always so grateful to see everyone. And let's get, as they say, let's get this party started. Let's get this party started. So again, folks, if you want to, let's just make sure everyone is muted, please. And I'm looking forward to our first reader is Tamara Selman. And as I've been mentioning, if folks wouldn't mind just sharing with us where you're joining us from today. I think we're going to try to roll that into folks' introductions. And Tamara will be followed by Julia Magrini. Welcome, Tamara. So good to see you.
Thank you, Sandy. It's so good to be here. It's been a while. I often peek in through Facebook, but I'm here today, and thank you for having me. My name is Tamara Selman. I live in Kingston, Washington, which is a boat ride away from the Seattle area. And I have 3 poems about change today. The first one is a poem about change that occurs when humans occupy a natural space for the purpose of making it a spiritual space. It's called Queets River Invocation. Then came gravel, came bridges, ferns crowding the road, dust and pillows behind us. We were never alone. Instead, remote, We were there, returned, our pilgrimage, theirs. Each summer, a divination, more shadows, mosquitoes, bits of robin's egg blue, broken into triangles by the shadow canopy, or else lost inside old man's beard. The crucible, barren, cold upon arrival, our circle, energies, hard pan earth tamped, layers of needles, a party of gathered kindling, salutations, the red hand pump cranked, buckets of water dripping many paths, then our fire, a pot over flame, one blessing, broken bread, bottles of red wine passed, the harmonica bleeds, wood smoke as sacred perfume, a night cathedral, a fir and larch, witnesses. We inscribe regrets, newsprint fed to our altar, ashes flushed to the sky in holy smudge. The chatter of familiars leads us midnight blind, tents trenched inside sigils, pitched beneath a web of tarps, high, expectant. Then comes the morning's dewy baptism, Roosevelt's tears. Thanks. Excuse me. The second one is a poem about a change that I kind of noticed, perceived in the way we identified as Americans back following September 11th. It's called Post-September 11th Vision. I looked through an open door the other day. Same door that you saw open, everyone was there. We all watched the rectangular panel fold outward, heard the sinister creaking of it, felt a flooding chill, told repeatedly we weren't born in a barn, we wanted to pull it fast, but we couldn't help looking through at people walking up the rows of fields under a daylight sky filled with stars. We couldn't be sure it looked like they were smiling. The door remains wide open, not because we all came to understand we were looking at ourselves. Sometime in the night, we finally slept, and the panel, like a storm-worn shingle, fell away from hinges, was carried off by waving arms of wheat. As usual, only the insomniacs noticed. And then, thank you. And then this last poem is a fun fall poem, the magical change and transformation of the way we see the landscape during the fall in its seasonality. And the title is the first line of the poem. Hawthorns grew outward in threes from distressed and neglected slopes below our house on Thurston Avenue. Branches dripping with chartreuse lichen spiraled, violent in autumn, low enough to poke out an eye. Beneath them, iron-girdled trunks, ribbed with roots, left hidey holes too small for me to crawl inside. I knew black eyes were blinking behind my back. Spooked, I ran against the slope in rubber boots, a 3-year-old with twig in hand, defense against the ghosts of overcast afternoons, my shoulders tense, perceiving wicked trees in motion. A twitching leaf of brown, still tight to the limb, signaled declining shifts within the orchard. I know now that wrinkles in bark are not always meant for the feet of crows. The hawthorn's finger limbs pointed curses at me as I skewered garden slugs, trying to ignore them. I never caught them moving, not even when I peered out my bedroom window over misty fields at night, spaces held uncommonly still under the pumpkin moon. How unaware I was of rooted crones carving a season's shelter for starving rabbits, of fog-dampened legs folding inward like gathered petticoats against October's killing frost. They labored like any other mother would, knitting, canning, stoking the black potbelly. Thank you. Thank you so much.
A fabulous start. Tamara Selman, good to be with you today. Folks, as you know, when we do the open mic, as I always love to, I love to comment on everything, but in the open mics, I move us along. So I do my best to keep my comments to a minimum and keep the party rolling along. Thank you again, Tamara. It's so great to have you here with us today. And we have a great reading lined up here, and we've started it incredibly well. We're going to go next to Julia Magrini, and we're going to be followed then by Leslie Trainer. Reminder, folks, of you here live on Zoom and live on Facebook, where we always have some folks watching live. Feel free to put your respectful, enthusiastic comments in the chat as the readings are going on. And let's go to Pittsburgh.
Quite right, Giulio Magrini, coming to you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And too many of my dear friends have been experiencing change through the loss of their parents. One of them posted a picture on their Facebook timeline, which you see before you. I wrote this poem in Italian, and I'll translate it for you, but listen to the sounds of the language. It's called Foglie di Saffarano. E le foglie di Saffarano, riflessa nell'acqua, aspetta con aspettativa per salire al cielo e cerca I loro discendenti in attesa non più qui. Saffron leaves. And the saffron leaves, reflected in the water, wait with expectation to ascend to the heavens and search for their waiting descendants, no longer here. Thank you.
Thank you, Giulia Magrini. That is exquisite. And we always appreciate when we get to experience poems from the multilingual perspective. So thank you for bringing that perspective to Change Today. And I very much personally appreciate your poem. Folks, also a reminder before we go to our next reader, feel free to also in the chat be posting about your books, readings, reading series that you're hosting, to give, to share the wealth with everyone here in our studio here today. All right, we move on next fabulously to Leslie Trainer, and then we'll hear from Harvey Sauce.
Hi, and I'm joining everybody here from the south of Scotland. I'm going to read from I call her my poetry sister, Saima Afreen, the most beautiful Indian poet who's now resident in the States. And this is from her collection, Sin of Semantics. And it's called A Fable of Rain in Calcutta. We are the memory of water. The rain inside us knows it has to return where it comes from. It tries to escape, rises and comes down in drops, over graves, moss-laden on the silent grass, guarding the feet of obelisks. The early morning light trembles, stands at the rectangular marble marked with Henry D'Orazio's name. A little stream sluices from the other two words like the tiny graves of children. Inside Park Street Cemetery, the fresh green trees, their leafy burdens over glassy streets. empty of wars, bugles, yuccas, soldiers, servants, epidemics. The rain-soaked windows blur the thick grey smoke rising from a stove somewhere in Little Russell Street, but there's no fire. Despite that, the wood belongs to it. It rains till the city disappears in unmarked calendars, faces, blind windows, trapped breeze, the red of buildings, tiles, roofs, all disappear inside a dawn that never saw its light. The thick carpets inside dark museums soak the blood and light of yesteryears, the ashen chandeliers, a charcoal sky underneath which statues and swords sleep alike. My face remembers what I look like before washing off its skin with warm rain and filling the gaps with flags that people in my time wore as talismans for the exorcism of rain, the mad dance in blood. Isn't she amazing? Truly spectacular, and I totally recommend the whole collection, A Sin of Semantics. And I'm going to read from my own collection, Daughters, Wives, Resilient Lives. And this is about my mother and her country ways and marking change. And it's called Hedgerow Prophecy. My mother tells me she feels a change in the air. She knows these things, and I should pay attention. The passage of geese tracks the seasons. She knows these things, and I should pay attention. A hint of coconut breathed over the moor, the start of spring. When cows lie down to chew the cud, bring your washing in. She knows these things. I should pay attention. Rain always comes from the west. Sea fret gathers before Arran. Eaglesome Moor pulls it down. Soft rain soaks you through. Maize rain nourishes the skin. She knows these things, and I should pay attention. Headaches and curdled milk herald a summer storm. Early rowan berries profess a hard winter. She knows these things, and I should pay attention. My mother feels a change in the air. I pick bounty from hedgerows, preserve it for dark days, and watch geese leave. Thank you.
That's Leslie Trainer. I love those selections today on our Poets Focus on the theme, the word, the prismatic interpretation of change. Thank you so much, Leslie. My heart is with you. My heart is with you. Well, next we'll hear from Harvey Sauce, followed by Kim Ports Parsons.
Oh, Marian next after.
Oh, Marian's
that.
next. Oh my
Sorry.
God, Marian, excuse me. I jumped a line on my little list. I jumped ahead of myself. Thank you. Harvey has a new iPad, we understand. And so we're working on the mute function.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Thank you, Anton. Thank you.
Let's see. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Geometry has a very
let's find the poems. Okay, I have two poems having to do with bodily changes. More's the pity. one of which was written this morning. So it may be unfinished, but we'll see. It's called, the first one is called Signs. When crepiness creeps into your arm flesh and curls up there like a hibernating bear, rattled lovers shaking their heads consolingly, a bed bug of a thought burrows into your consciousness. I'm better off dead. That's where the trail of breadcrumbs to your casket begins, a rejection of what you are and are likely to become, not so much of what you've been, conductor of a Long Island Railroad train or the New York Philharmonic. Those wattles of skin hanging below your biceps like laundry on a line are a sign to anyone who might be watching that here is a man who probably can't afford a plastic surgeon to rid himself of his encapsulated spirits, shake, rattle, and roll. Second one, I may or may not have read here. I read it someplace, but I have no idea where. It's called Mama's Boy. Having grown accustomed to being told how closely I favored my father, I had long considered our shared collection of oops and aches as signaling something beyond mere lineal descent. Thinking, perhaps I had been cloned in the basement, or was a reincarnation, or that ours was a merging of individuation. When I paused at the mirror, I saw my father as he must have been. My dad wore Murray's space shoes, prescribed by his podiatrist for foot problems similar to my own, mine being the modern sort of orthotic, plastic and leather tucked away into high tops for greater dunkability. Our prostates could have been peas in a pod, our nighttime urges practically synchronized, racing each other to the bathroom 3 or 4 times a night before I left the nest for my own fixtures, flourishes, and flushes. My parents arguing over fresh wallpaper, too frilly and flowery or not, could go on for an age and did with me as their referee. Never were there 2 lovebirds so apt to redecorate a cage. I had his face, everyone said so, sporting my father's full head of hair, which I combed into a matching pompadour, a man's answer to a woman's beehive, dabbing a little spittle here and there to keep it in place. If not quite the son of God, as my mother sometimes chaffed my father, then most assuredly that of my father, his hair, face, feet, prostate, spitting image if ever there was one, and certainly proud to be his son. So it was with more than a bit of surprise and no small degree of consternation that this morning it was my mother, fairest of them all, preening in the mirror, with me not so sleepy-eyed that I could have mistaken him for her. My father's influence having somehow slipped, having been eclipsed by that of my mother while I lay sleeping. She caught me off guard with her mousetrap grin, as if to say, gotcha now. Forget those pixelated clots of male bloodlines so passé. In the big picture, it's your mother you most resemble. Veni, vidi, vici. The damp mirror after I showered corroborated the dead woman's testimony. Peaky blinders with which she had faced down 2 open heart surgeries, getting the better of both of them blinked back at me. She who had birthed me appeared to have taken control, seated comfortably on the genomic iron throne. Having been dispossessed of my father's face, possession having been ceded to his wife, was I in danger of becoming a she? A softness had settled around my eyes, squatter staking its claim. I made a conscious effort to roughen plain edginess of my viewpoints, practicing a stern look befitting the son of a hero of Anzio, El Alamein. And still I was unsure of what the future held for me, whether I would reflexively answer when asked what my favorite number was, Chanel number 5. Would my girlfriend share makeup tips, go shopping with me for a man bra? I was flummoxed. Who could I discuss this with? Close friends and colleagues, never having given the least hint of having recapitulated their mothers. For all I knew, I was alone in this, facing the loss of face in the eyes of others. My demeanor hers, not his, as if some lighthouse keeper had flipped a switch, a fresh, cunning, lurking laird behind the eyes of my father's son, fixing me with a more youthful stare, my mother being the younger of the two. A certain wariness crept in. No question a sea change was taking place, leaving me more likely to be chucked by babushkas under the chin, telling me how sweet I look, as grandaunts did my mother even as she turned 60. Reluctantly, I surrendered to matrilineal aspects of myself I had never noticed before, making the best of it, a mother's boy cursing Ancestry.com for not having foreseen this in its mail-in spit test. I spat Rumpelstiltskin in the face of fate, thinking to reverse the spell, reinforce my father's influence. No dice. More and more convinced I was an agglomeration of sugar and spice and everything nice. A cute little poem, that, apparently having been bewitched in the womb. Mother, mother, what have you done? Where once I had been accounted as handsome a fellow as my father, now I most resemble you, my mother's son. Thank you.
The sea reaches to embrace an island within them.
Thank you, Harvey Sauce. And we have heard the poem before, and I appreciated hearing it again. I just like to let you know that it's always great. I am one to hear a poem many, many times. So I love the poem, and I'm glad to have heard it again. And thank you very much. And welcome. The new iPad has now been officially the champagne bottle has been cracked on it, and we have read the poetry here on Cultivating Voices successfully through it. Thank you again. Well, so thrilled to welcome back dear friend Marion Lovett, and then we'll hear from Kim Ports Parsons.
Sandy, Kim, Don, everybody, it's just a pleasure again to be here. Broadcasting from Sligo in the northwest of Ireland. And it's a county that has long had associations with poetry in particular, I guess, because it was a favorite place for W.B. Yeats, and so many of his spots are still there to be visited. So the poem I'm going to read this evening is called Portrait, and I guess it kind of reflects a little bit on bodily change, or how we perceive, let's say, our parents as they get older, and how our relationship with them changes also as they get older, and how we maybe search for constants in our relationship with them as they decline. So it's Portrait. I forgot to take a picture of my mother as she lay dying. Often in those long, drawn-out weeks, I held her hand in mine. It was limp and wrinkled, blemished with brown spots, nails brittle, fingers gnarled, her knuckles swollen with big knots. But her touch was just the same as when she twirled the hair of childish me, stroked my forehead, or placed her hands protectively upon my shoulders the day we stood together with the bishop for the confirmation photo. And the fingertips felt and smelt just like when she handed me the segment of an orange at breakfast and the juice dripped down and I licked her fingers, because in childhood, well, that felt the same as when I licked my own. On her deathbed, the gold band on her ring finger was all worn, and months before she died, she'd said, "You'll have to use some soap or Vaseline to get that off me when I'm gone." Those last weeks, as she lingered, I held her hands in mine, and the blue veins ran like rivulets raised down the back of both of them, and the skin was paper thin. Those hands depleted at the end, but for so long, warm and soft and strong, making, tending, doing, loving. Those hands held us, held together our whole world. So that's my contribution for the evening, folks. As I say, just a pleasure. So I just feel this is such a warm, supportive space to share the poems that really mean something to us. So thanks for hearing that.
And thank you for sharing that. Marion Lovett, you're making me also think that another great theme would be hands. And if we do hands, come back and read that poem again.
Thank you.
Miraculous poem. Thank you. All right. We turn over change to Kim Ports Parsons to see what she will be sharing with us today, and followed by Don Krieger. Thank you, Kim.
Fantastic poetry so far today. Thank you, everyone. Hands, what a great theme, Sandy. So this is a very new poem. It's an old poem that I feel was unsuccessful, and I took it out today and reworked it, and I just thought I'd try it out on you guys. October's Wings. There's work to be done before we're through. Washing pumpkins and winter squash and setting them to cure in the sun. Curing in this case means settling the flesh so it might mellow and last. Not like my queenly cat. Cancer has finally stolen her joy, and all the spring in that calico tail is spent. When she moves, she leans around the waning day. Walking this morning, I saw the last monarchs spinning over the meadow's cloth, starting to dry and fade, but here and there still blooming, purple and burnished gold, thistles, Michaelmas daisies, and goldenrod. My lips move as I walk, stringing words like apple slices. October blossoms bend under the weight of their own will, leaning into the last of the warm as I pull down straggling tomato vines, pick the reddening peppers. She sits in my lap this evening, sleeps beside me one more night. I fall asleep, stacking words like kindling, bracing November's wall. There's work to be done before we're through, denials to hold on to, picturing the monarch's flight across next year and the next, stroking soft fur again and again and once more. Thanks everyone for listening. We get a treat. Don is going to share a song with us.
Thanks, Kim, and thanks, Sandy. I'm going to read something briefly first. Long time coming. Both these pieces are from the 1960s, and this one is about change that hasn't happened. Long time coming. The house fires were always in Colored Town. Dad called them less fortunate. We were cold and hungry too, but different. We were meant for college. The missile crisis came. Castro had nukes. Bombers flew over every few minutes. Convoys ran Dixie Highway for weeks, so it was hard crossing to school. We had no basement for shelter. I dug a hole in the yard one time. It filled with seawater. We were drilled in class, marched to the closet to cower. When Nixon got in, I was terrified. Thought he might use nukes in Vietnam, burn everything clean. And then this is Phil Ochs' song from 1966, Changes, and it was covered by Gordon Lightfoot. I'm going to play his version because I like it better.
Sit by my side, come as close as the air, sharing a memory of gray, and wander in my words, and dream about the pictures that I play, of changes. Green leaves of summer turn red in the fall, to brown and to yellow they fade. But then they have to die, trapped within the circle time parade of changes. Moments of magic will glow in the night. All fears of the forest are gone, but when the morning breaks, they're swept away by golden drops of dawn, of changes. Passions will part to a warm melody, as fires will sometimes turn cold, like petals in the wind. We're puppets to the silver strings of the souls of changes. Your tears will be trembling, now we're somewhere else. One last cup of wine we will pour. I'll kiss you one more time and leave you on the rolling river shore of changes.
Oh, you've given me another idea, but I'm not gonna go anywhere with it right now. But I love, first of all, I love Gordon Lightfoot. That's John Krieger sharing his own poem and the music of Phil Ochs as played by Gordon Lightfoot. And if you're not familiar with Gordon Lightfoot's work, it's a wonderful Canadian singer-songwriter, probably sang one of my favorite songs about a shipwreck, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Check out Gordon Lightfoot. Maybe I have a DJ gig in my future here. Well, we will go next to Joanne James, followed by Zamcornto.
Hi. It's a great afternoon here. So let's see. I'm going to do this. I'm going to read two poems about the 2 times my whole life changed forever. They weren't too many years apart. It was a lot of change. My first, can you hear me, Sandy? Okay. It was the first and last night of kissing and dancing. It was the only night that mattered. I was bold when I should have been shy. I was shy when she became bold. This was a dance. There was a first kiss that lasted until last call. How else could we have discovered kissing and dancing? Because I was 16 and she was bold. I was hanging out of the window of the bus after the soccer meet. Someone yelled to me, "You have the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen." This was how we met the first time. Even with that, it would take another decade to discover kissing and dancing. My other poem is called, is about the earthquake in Loma Prieta earthquake, which was on October 17th. So every October, I think about it. I wrote this a little while ago. It's called Cherish. This is the story of a long goodbye over in 15 seconds. It was the last time I walked up that path through Anne Brent's rose garden. I wore white cheap pants and Chinese red socks, a stethoscope in the pocket of my cheap white lab coat. Afternoon baked, flat heat, no music played, no birds sang. I would never work full-time again. This was a moment of destiny, and I decided to lay down under the water in my 6-foot-long clawfoot tub. It was the last time I'd hear the raccoons underneath my flat where they ran, under the screen of the pantry's cold cellar. No more nights ever with the rats running in the walls. All my life poured into that clawfoot tub. When I came up from beneath the water, it was because I heard mountains falling down, some kind of roar, atomic bomb sounding that meant the end of the world. My windows in sharp shatters on the floor. But it wasn't the end of the world. Civilization was waiting. I was in that room, in that house an hour, and people yelled, "There's a woman in that house," and came to rescue me. Would I join the world outside broken as I was broken? Would I cling to possessions, my health, my mind, my dreams, a home? I tried to open my front door, but the building had sunk into the earth, so they went around to get me from the bathroom window. Everything I held dear, beliefs, clarity, torn up, scattered, shattered. Sometimes there's a soul expansion and you move towards light. All is right in that place. Everything is possible. It's what you can never forget, but you can't remember. Goodbye, Adwala OJ in the fridge. You must have blown up and burst. Goodbye, Anne Brent, who gave me a check the next day for my deposit, who later told me people had broken into my flat, the one I loved, the first place I ever lived alone. She told me they had fires and shit on the living room floor, as if there could be any more wretched in this goodbye. I never walked out the door once I walked in, October 17th, 1989. It was time for me to find my real life, climb into strangers' arms. Goodbye, strangers. Goodbye, rats.
Thank you so much, Joanne James. And Kim wrote in the chat that it's so great to be having our beloved friends that have read months past and have rejoined us today on this theme of change. And it's always a pleasure to have you come and read with us. Thank you so much. Folks, I'm like doing a whole jumble here. I don't know what's going on with my eyes or whatever, but I keep changing the order of the reading. So my apologies. next is Svango, and then we'll be followed by Jennifer Elise Wang. So Conto, you're a little bit later in the meeting.
Hi, Sandy. Thank you very much.
Great to see you.
Great to see you too. So yeah, I have 2 poems for you tonight. One is the first one is from my first book, Trials. The other one I just wrote when I got into the Zoom meeting. Yeah. So yeah, this one goes like, in the face of death, I wake still, seeking immortality, torn pockets, hope I lose not. If I dream it, I can have it. Depression, my daily adversary. I pray I win, but without action, that prayer is pointless, like Zimbabwean protests. The last poem, this one, that one was titled Pointless Prayer. This one is untitled. Goes something like this. You better be militant when it comes to your betterment. Don't let them tell you who you are. Be yourself. Be the love, be the joy, be the change you want to see. It might be true. Loose lips sink ships. But be aware that the power of words isn't destruction, it's creation. Words create walls that breed destruction. Your vocabulary is the key to your reality. Change that and watch nature render your dreams right in front of you. Thank you very much.
Wow. Just wrote that. You just wrote that? That's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Wow. I'm just like blown. Whoa. Amazing. You know, someday, well, this is my day to have lots of ideas, I guess. Like, yeah, maybe someday, like we should do like a writing challenge or something like they do on some of the other different platforms, where we put the theme up and like an hour before and let everybody read, and then come and read what they've read on that theme or something. Thank you so much. We've just got such amazing permutations on change today. And if you're just joining us or listening in on Zoom or watching the recording, a reminder that you are with us here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. It's our Poets Focus open mic on the theme of change. And we'll move now over to Jennifer Elise Wang, followed by Ann Tweedy. Great to have you here, Jennifer. Thanks for bringing your work, as always.
Yeah, I'm glad I could join. So I decided to interpret the theme as being more fall related, because it's finally feeling like fall here in Dallas, Texas. So the first one is a haiku I wrote recently. Dark descends sooner, bringing a chill with the wind. Pumpkin spice returns. Dark descends sooner, bringing a chill with the wind. Pumpkin spice returns. And my second one is an older poem that I wrote it was for the Balticon Sci-Fi Fantasy Contest, and it got honorable mention and then ended up being published in the Gunpowder Review. It's called Wolfman. It's not about the sharpened teeth and vision, senses honed for killing. It's not about giving in to the crunch and snap of bones that lower a man to the ground from whence he came, the basis for existence. It's not about the sensations, inexpressible by the human tongue, feelings he lets out freely in a long howl at the moon. For me, the change is about poetry, bringing words to my colorful world. It's about the crack and the stretch of joints and ligaments that puts me on a higher level to stand tall and proud. It's about the mind, logic trumping emotion, conscience overriding instinct, being conscious of being alive, of being human, for these few days anyway. And yeah, that's all I have for today.
Thank you so much, Jennifer Elise Wang. I too am deeply grateful for the return of the pumpkin spice, I have to say. Fabulous. I love hearing a great haiku on the theme of change. Well, next we get to go a little north from where Jennifer is to reconnect with our fabulous friend, poet extraordinaire, Ann Tweedy. Great to see you today.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here and listen to all this beautiful poetry. I want to acknowledge I'm on the unceded lands of the Yankton, Santee, Ponca, and Omaha peoples. I have 3 poems, and this first one, Flights of Fancy, is older. And so the situation it's about has improved. Flights of Fancy. My mother sent me and my son Valentines. Mine was an Apache blessing, green letters embossed into blue. His was pink with a blue high-top sneaker in the middle. They both had handwritten notes with winged hearts drawn in blue. Mine said, when she saw the card, she thought of me. His said, how very much Grandma loved him. The cards arrived only a few days late. He said he wanted a toy in the mail instead. But I thought of my mother all those years in the house I grew up in, barricaded by piles and piles of boxes, newspaper, mail, not venturing beyond the yard's perimeter for months at a time. Later in elderly housing, paranoia about neighbors spraying her with Raid, swirling like a cloud of insecticide. All those years, only an occasional card with a to and a from, sometimes one cramped sentence. Her mother had been so critical of her writing as a child, she said, that she could barely write anything. It was one of the moments I knew I was lucky, had been spared something. Now, moving around the homeless shelters of Boston, Cambridge, Waltham, months at a time in each, if the rules agree with her, which is rare. Finally, at 76, her heart has grown wings. Thank you. This one is a more whimsical, called Quiddity. I've done the genetic tests, traced my origins to Northwest Europe, the British Isles. No real surprises, though I'd wanted to be more Scottish, more mystical Celt than blunt German. Funny the disjunct between what we are and how we imagine ourselves. Lately, that all seems long forgotten. I feel more avis than hominid. Looking down, I half expect skinny reptilian legs, forked claws, to be the tiger lily flash of Oriole dipping down for grape jelly, how it lands on top of the vertical circular feeder, carefully looks about, then jumps to the lower rung and tips like a teapot. The throat of the dickcissel throbbing with song on a fence post, a miniature vessel sometimes blessedly oblivious to my peering. The endless shutter snaps my pointer finger enacts. Wagnuka, the red-headed woodpecker, who belongs to no one and prefers the barkless snags that protect its young from snakes, or the male bobolink, whose spring coat looks drab when it first grows in until the feather ends grind off, to reveal the dreamy reverse tuxedo, the blonde cap, who is guided by Earth's magnets because iron oxide inhabits nasal bristles and olfactory bulb. I tell you, I am more feather than hair, more sharp beak than soft lips, more angled oval than straight up and down. The flight in my sandpiper heart gorges on shrimp in the Bay of Fundy, builds oxidative capacity, peregrinates seas. And then I just have one really short one called Ghost Exchange. Because I can offer you nothing, I aspire to ask nothing of you. Is it a bargain we are stuck in, or its absence, the language thick on us? Now we are mimes, or those live statues in San Francisco, gray grease paint, tiny robotic movements. no child stars trapped in performance. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ann Tweedy. Always just bringing the wonderfully prismatic work. So glad to see you today and have you here with us on our open mic, our Poets Focus on Change. Well, we move next to Zonconto, and then we'll hear from Gary Copeland Lilly.
Hello, everyone. This is untitled. Pep talks in the ghetto are not usually pep talks, but trauma dumps, towering giants crumbling like sawdust upon the heads of their sons. Because for years, invisible hands have been chipping away at their own self-esteem, their loose screws unraveling from limbs that have become accustomed to bringing hammers down upon steel. Sometimes they've confused that steel for their children's limbs. These drunken men who will bend to nobody's will but colonialism, chained to the same freedom train that never left the system, and the few times that it did, it ran over their kids and had to be brought back to the station to clean out the blood and make it gleam again, while the speakers repeat the message to moan in peace and then repeats the pain. I had friends as a child that were so afraid to go back home. Oh, so little did I know their skins were fire pits. And what I thought was just ashy skin through holes in their clothes was actually loud-mouthed, drunken sores that only healed when they played with us. But that when they started walking home again, those same sores filled afresh with pus. Now I know why they never spoke much. We did not know why they withdrew from touch, so we left them out of tag teams. But if I had the means today, I would seek them with a Midas touch, turn their smiles to gold, because oh, so rich they loved, how rich they loved in paragraphs. It is a hard thing as a child to watch another child be sad. So together we prayed for change every chance that we had. Change for hot buns, change for ice cream, change for movies, change for dreams. But man is a different kind of misfit. We know when to change a tire, but if our own communities are losing air, we puncture their lungs some more, losing all desire to breathe as one. Then sit back and watch drunk fathers dump trauma upon the shaved heads of their sons. And from across the street, adding to the speech that pep talks in the ghetto are meant to be angry. Because God damn it, we are angry that we could be such happy people and yet the world sees only our ugliness. So we start hammering away at any love that stammers into our day, walking past storm mirrors, wanting our face to change. Because every inch of darkness is its own bout of pain. But oh, colonialism did a number system on our relatives. Some left for South Africa and came back as shimmering corpses that tell no single story of where they have been. And what you do not know is that this is the first time anyone applied anything to their faces, covering their knife scars that peer through the balm, looking calm, but you know their life was rough. Knowing they wanted it all to stop, because you can see that the knife scars are not just a gang of rivers flowing to nowhere, but that there are paths where they trail off and disappear, a change in the tide. So we just lean over their graves and throw some change inside. Watch it land on rose petals and wish those metal round pieces of miracles by them land on the other side. Thank you.
That is Zonconto. Just incredible to listen to your contribution to our theme today on change. Our poets focus on change. The work today is just, I love this poets focus today. And I have no doubt that our final poets coming up are going to add miraculously to this cornucopia of change through poetry that we're hearing today. Next, we will hear from Gary Copeland Lilly, followed by Linda B.F. Crawford, and then we'll head to the waiting list for the open mic. Welcome, Gary. I'm so glad you're here today.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here, really. I'm going to read, this first poem is one that, well, I'm reading new stuff. Road disappears in California for my dead younger brother. There he is, he is there, my dead younger brother, on the street of Los Angeles, where you sometimes unrolls his sleeping bag. The white kids from the suburbs, setting fire to the homeless, spray the lighter fluid on the homeless, lighter fluid to the homeless. If they appear to be drunk, appear to be stoned or idle. And I am worried, because at any time, he could be y'all three. It was at a river in the bend, and the river at a river in Texas. He found Helen sleeping on the ground at a bend in the river in Texas. They'd been married 30 years, and they really don't love each other. They feel safer together. And I'm gonna migration of a Negro family. Hit that rhythm on the drum, rhythm you are born with. Eternal Jim Crow can't douse fire in a wood stove, nor grandma baking bread every breakfast. She raised her children, regulated the heat. Husband long gone, a peg-leg man, 38 snub nose tucked in his waistband. A logging road beside a lazy Blackwater river. Blind uncle sits on a cypress stump. Listen to his hounds sing as they run. Each by its bray. The place where moonshine is made and drunk. The juke joints replaced by rap videos from Memphis, Atlanta, and the Bronx. And the cousins up north do a beaded dance with shakerettes and liberated drums of the enslaved. Old folks pray and testify in storefronts as they struggle up. Stay awake, altar boys in the big brick church where on the same street drugs pass hands even on Sundays. Any one of us jumping turnstiles in subway stations or flirting in the dark hopes to not get shot for a busted tail light. We get to go to a segregated school, inner city school. One parent works in a noisy factory, the other in a spacious kitchen of rich white folk. And hope young mister gets a good job, drive cabs, or sell insurance, or at least wash dishes in a restaurant, get a scholarship. Maybe teach at the college, or it's called toward the holy word of God. Hear it? Can you hear it? In the carved hand drums in Prospect Park. All of it home in the clover of the blood beat. The blood, the real traveler, outdistancing me in the blunted thunder of those gone and those still coming. Yeah. I'm gonna close with that one.
Thank you so much, Gary Copeland Lilly. The new work is just, well, I can't wait. I can't wait for it to be distributed and published everywhere. And I'm so grateful that we get to hear it here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. Grateful for your voice. And again, folks, where else are we gonna get to hear all this work on this theme of change and voices of folks that we've been hearing for months and months and months now, a few years, and getting to also see the progression of change in our work, in our poetry over time. Well, we now will hear from Linda P.F. Crawford. Welcome, Linda. I'm so thrilled to have you with us today.
No, thank you so much. I was eagerly looking forward to getting back in. I know a few were canceled, so I'm glad I'm able to be here today. This poem, I'm only going to read one poem. For me, it's a little bit longish. Anything more than a page, I can for me. But this is about change that I'm trying to call into being with this poem. You'll hear me use the word duppies in the title and throughout. Duppies is a word in the Caribbean we use to mean spirits, ghosts, ancestors. And the poem just briefly is, I'm calling on, and many people in Barbados are calling on a conservative MP in Britain to release the plantation that he has inherited from his family who had enslaved Africans in the 16-something, the earliest days of slavery starting in Barbados. And he now has the plantation and refuses to release it to the government so that folks can go in and study the graves, the bones, and all of that, perhaps create a museum. So this, I'm calling on him, along with my enslaved ancestors, to release it. Draxhall Duppies. A reminder to Richard Grosvenor Plunkett Ernley Earl Drax, British MP, owner of Draxhall Plantation, Barbados. 1. Erasure was complete, or so we thought. Individuals, names drowned along with tribes, suffocated in stench of slavery, mutilated in the grind of sugarcane. Royal-owned enslaving ships, coining and abusing, self-named aristocrats preening in plantation, scarring and burning alive, ashen or lineage. 2. Erasure was complete, or so they thought. We didn't know of Caribs, Arawaks, Taino, severed from Fulani, Hausa, Dogon, the Igbo, Medinutier hieroglyphs far across the sea. We were generations of no eyes, silently booed those who started to see. Like George Lamin, he spoke the word African, claimed continent as kin. 3. Erasure was complete, or so we were taught. We feared the 20th century speech at our national stadium during a day of Carifesta. Us, little England, raised high on false buoys of Britain's ancestors. Those who tacked, jibed, laughed at the sound of our folly, mumbled fools under breath as we preened in falsehoods, ignorance, molasses and grog bliss. 4. Erasure wasn't complete, and our ancestors don't forget. We may have stiff upper lipped the whole, dark plantations, weighted heavy with power, breaking bone, drawing blood, burying blood. Not anymore. We honoring forebears in public places, names known, Bussa, Clement Payne, some lost. Our duppies are churning under sugar cane. Hundreds roaming the place, they're holding history. Walking Obia, marking that trail from plantation to Parliament and back. Was I used It has nothing to do with me. All that family history, you're James Drax, Prince of Barbados, 600 acres, 300 Africans first time out. Here was say, Lord Richard, we coming for you. Remember, you can't rub we out. Erasure done. Thank you.
That's Linda B.F. Crawford, everyone. Thanks for sharing that poem. And I'm absolutely astounded by the work that has emerged today through this reading. And I think we might have to have another reading on change, because what it's evoking and encouraging folks to share has just been really quite incredible to be in conversation with each other. Well, we'll hear next now from Gordon Ferris. Welcome, Gordon.
Good evening. The first piece I'm going to read now, the original name of it was actually Change, and I read it here a while ago under the title of Childhood, but for tonight I'm going to call it Change again. Change. When we were young, we made dreams of endless days, sunlight bright and love, the touch and taste of grass stewed on street end green, the call of our mothers echoes through evening dew heavy air to mark the end of day, making ready for their world. And this is called Things Slipping Away. I like to capture how silence rolls time along in slow seconds. I try to capture the distance in your eyes, the dimple beneath your thin lips. I try to capture the way your hair twists and turns, how it glistens even in shade, and how your smile fades, then reignites when you realize it has. I tried to capture how long fingers tapped that nervous song, and I tried to capture that racing heart, that tear that falls. And this one is called Scattered Wishes. The voice that speaks to us when we are alone lays scattered on train edge gorse, like Mediterranean drifting boats looking for a home. You see a stranger's face, stoop your head to gaze, then run to cut your hair to try and hide your ego. You want to be with familiar, spending many silences together, be in each other's world, live each other's dreams, the odd knowing glance, sharing the world of the internal, where you listen to the voice that speaks to us when we are alone. And this one is called Who Are You? No One Special. Through the lace curtain, I am invisible to the world. I am a mirror looking out, apart, safe from being judged. From the outside, movement can be seen, sudden movement, heads turning. Does anyone really care who we are, what we say? They just nod, go on their way. Before I walk into a room, I freeze, move on past, pretend to myself I made a mistake. The fear wasn't real. I just walk on around the block, shake off the cobwebs of doubt and ask, why would I be noticed? No need to plan every word in advance or anticipate the answer. No, this doesn't make sense. Life is never that predictable. No one is going to notice you. Why would they? Who are you? No one special. And I'm going to finish with a poem that I get a bit nervous reading this poem because it's a little bit mad, you know. It's called Strange Dream of a Night with the Goat Man's Daughter. One Sunday morning in an unfamiliar place, a strange, beautiful face lay sleeping beside me. Blank space following me that I can't seem to fill. I throw my clothes on silently, go outside for air to see where I am. A car pulls up with a goat in the passenger seat. bearded driver tips his hat and says, "Welcome to this town land. What part do you hail from?" I wipe my eyes. Is this real, I think? "Why is there a goat in your car?" I wondered out loud. "Because it's too far for him to walk. Why else?" he said, as if nothing was out of place. "So, what town land do you hail from? I'd like to know, seed, breed, and generation of the man who lays with my daughter in my home." Had I defied space and time? He spoke like one from a different time. Was I somehow still in a deep sleep, unable to wake? Will I come around now, dripping sweat? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gordon Ferris. And I'm going to close out our reading for today with a very short poem on the theme of change from Boats for Women, a poem called Phlebotomy. Then there's the matter of change in my pocket, the phlebotomist pushing up my sleeve for small talk, familiar auburn hair, the medicinal swab before the needle pursues the vein, insists. The cuff monitoring my pressure constricts. A woman's February hand surprising my upper arm in the throes of street night. Just outside the reach of headlights, we kiss. Arm goes slack, needle pulling away. Change falling to the September tile floor like February snow. The phlebotomist picking up my swooning coins, returning my arm to my sleeve. Well, that is our amazing reading today on the theme of change. What an incredible constellation of work and voices that we were so fortunate to hear today. And let me remind you of all the folks that we were able and honored to hear today. We began at the top of the hour with Tamara Selman, followed by Giulio Magrini, Leslie Trainer, Harvey Sauce, Marian Lovett, Kim Ports Parsons, Don Krieger, also sharing our musical interlude by Gordon Lightfoot singing the work of Phil Oakes. We then heard, after Gordon Lightfoot's rendering of Changes, we heard from Joanne James, Spongo, Jennifer Elise Wang, Sam Cornto, Ann Tweedy, Gary Copeland Lilly, Linda V.F. Crawford, Gordon Ferris, and a wee poem from yours truly. Let's take a moment to unmute ourselves and show our appreciation for all the voices and everyone in our audience today.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Fantastic poetry today.
Thank you.
Really terrific.
Thank you.
Well done, all. Love to everyone. Mwah.
Thank you.
Beauty, beauty.
We appreciate everyone being here in the audience
Beauty.
And all of the poets that read today. I want to remind you all of our next reading will be next Sunday. It'll be our new books showcase. That's our second Sundays of every month now, followed by our wild card open mic, the third Sundays. And then we take a little break and we come back at the top of the next month. And I will remind you, in November, get your poems ready on the theme of hunger. That'll be our Poets Focus, the first Sunday of September. well, excuse me, of November. What am I saying? I'm going back to September. We will be joining you next week for our new book showcase. We'll be joined by, Kim will put in the chat also, maybe, did we have a moment here? Thank you. Kevin Higgins from Galway. We will hear from Matt Mooney, Andrea Dweekin will be joining us also. And where's my fourth poet?
And Kashiana Singh.
Oh, Kashiana! How could I forget? Kashiana Singh will be joining us. Oh my gosh, thank you very much. I look forward to this quartet being with us next week. And I hope that you all will be here with us next week as well. That'll be our new books showcase here on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. Again, we couldn't do it without Don Krieger and Kim Ports Parsons, my forever gratitude, as well as for each one of you who come to read and listen and or participate, whether that's listening through Zoom on the recordings and or posting on our Facebook page. I remind you, we are an international, intergenerational, intersectional reading poetry group. And it is my great joy, honor, and privilege to be your host on these humble Sundays when we join to listen to just the most astounding poetry that I really gotten to hear my whole life. Where have I ever been able to go to readings like these? Well, until next time, my friends, I encourage you all, of course, to be safe out there, take very, very good care of your beloveds, and continue to embrace, reflect, encourage, work toward, demand change. Demand change. And until next time, keep writing those remarkable poems. I'm Sandy Yanone. Be well, my friends, and we'll see you next Sunday.